Can you think back to a time where you wanted to try something, but you were too scared to do it? Or maybe there was just this one singular fear that prevented you from ever entertaining the idea ever again. Well, that's kind of what happened with me and starting a YouTube channel. When I was making that transition from my 9 to 5 in the engineering space to doing hair as my career, I remember I had this, I feel like I had this calling to start making YouTube videos. I just wanted to show the world that I could braid my hair, and also that it's possible for people to learn how to braid their hair on their own. Being Filipino, and of course not African descent, I had this fear that if I were to put it out into the world that I love to braid and I love to wear braids all the time, that I would be called out and put down for possible cultural appropriation. And that idea, the idea of some random person online commenting on videos of me putting out art out of hair, as respectfully as possible, by the way. I love to always make sure I give credit to where credit's due and call back to the histories of these arts. But I had this worry that even before I ever posted anything, this imaginary person online behind his or her screen was gonna bash me for wearing something beautiful on my head that seemed to exclusively belong to one culture. So I think I started to think about doing this probably around 2021, 2022. And I do recall having a conversation with my braid mentor. I had posed the idea to her. I think we were just chit-chatting about like where we want to take our careers and maybe entertaining the idea of how far we're going to take it online, if YouTube was at all in the cards. I remember, and we were walking to my car because I remember this vividly. I had visited her at her place after I think I got my hair braided, and she was nothing but encouraging to me about starting a YouTube channel and showcasing my talents in braiding and creating a very welcoming space, especially for people who are also not of African descent, but love the art of braiding and love wearing braids. She was very encouraging, and I even expressed to her, yeah, I'm worried that people are gonna say stuff about me and, you know, call me out. And she just kept telling me that, you know, I know you're a very respectful person and like you're very talented, and as long as we come from a place of honor and respect and sharing the gift of handcrafting something on your own head or in community with someone else, the space is just permeated with love, or it was meant to be. But despite her words of support, I was too scared to take action. In my head, I could not let go of the image of someone saying something mean underneath my YouTube videos. So for years, I just chose not to put any videos out on YouTube, even though like in the back of my head or in the back of my heart, I really wanted to start creating a channel. And I recall this story and these sentiments because recently I visited a friend, and we were just catching up and everything, and she had asked me a question about this very thing, you know, and I don't think it's a very touchy subject, but I can understand where her reservations might come from of, you know, have you gotten any backlash for partaking in braiding, even though, you know, you're not Black or African American or of African descent? I actually took a pause to think about that question because I had realized that I've been very blessed and lucky to not have received any real backlash ever since I started my career in hair. And I think back to that moment when I was in conversation with my braid mentor and realized that fear of being called out or harassed about cultural appropriating, like in retrospect, I had nothing to fear. Because the time in between that was like, what, 2021, 2022? It's between 3 and 4 years of me being in this business that I haven't really experienced anything to be concerned about. The fears were really a figment of my imagination. And it was so crazy to have that contrast in my brain. I just wanted to go to the younger version of myself and just be like, see, girl, you got nothing to worry about. There are things there are ways that I need to continue to approach these things about culture and honoring origins that will always remain. But so long as I kept that standpoint of respect and embracing it as an art form, like I said, I truly had nothing to worry about. The deeper I got into the hair industry, particularly braiding and barbering, but for this video, it's gonna be braiding, I started to be in spaces where I, of course, started to meet more braiders. And braiders came in all shapes, sizes, colors, ethnicities, demographics, and regional backgrounds. Like the art of braiding is not exclusive. It was just really cool to be exposed to that. And I've worked a couple of festivals, and the team that I've worked with, we have girls that are Hispanic, they're Salvadorian or Mexican. We also have Black, we have some Dominican, we have Caribbean, we have people from Africa, from Nigeria, braiders that are also Italian, and there are Armenian braiders, and they're just making a killing in the braid world. And I freaking love it. It's so cool to watch. And then I follow a couple of Filipino braiders, and everyone's killing it. And it's so incredible to be exposed to these braiders. I've been around like a lot more female braiders, and these braiders are just so incredible at the craft, no matter what their ethnic background is. And maybe I'm lucky enough to have fallen into circles or gotten connections where everyone is so loving in the industry that, I don't know, maybe we're repelling the haters, because I know there are a lot of people out there that want to gatekeep like the hairstyles and everything. Like I've seen it on Twitter, I've seen it on threads, and just other, like I'll catch glimpses of it riddled throughout social media. But to me, from what I'm observing, they don't seem like the mass majority. I think that's so beautiful about the path that I've kind of fallen on and the people I'm drawing inspiration from. So all of this fear, so that kind of brings me to my main point of, I'm brought back to something that Layla Hermosi says, and it's fear is a mile wide and an inch deep. That's exactly what was happening with this fear of being called out or whatever, being shunned, or whatever it was. I was magnifying this fear so much that it looks like a mile. But in retrospect, when I actually look back on it, how shallow and like how faulty that fear could stand. There was just no proper basis to really ground that fear. What really matters though is actually that the regret of not starting at all, or even starting later than when you feel called to, is actually gonna bear more weight than that fear. You shouldn't give it that power, and I should not have given it that type of weight and gravitas. Because look where I am right now. I'm able to tell the story that I literally barely got confronted about cultural appropriation. So I was even telling my friend that there was probably this tiny microaggression, or like a passive aggressive comment on one of my YouTube videos of like, it was just like condescending. It was like, oh, I guess that wasn't bad, or something like that. And because there aren't a lot of views, I can totally tell that that person disliked my video. And okay, yeah, I'm like not fazed by it. It was just kind of funny that, you know, I know I did work on that video, and it doesn't bother me. Not saying that I'm never gonna encounter people not liking my stuff or feeling some type of way about my stuff. Actually, I feel like I need a little bit more of it, just so, you know, just exposure therapy. Like I'll be fine for sure. But yeah, the regret of not starting when I wanted to does bear a good amount of weight. But you know what they say, the best time to have started X was, you know, this amount of time, or like yesterday, or whatever, how many years ago. And when's the next best time? Right now. So that's all that matters. You know, when it comes down to it, and I do encounter more like hate comments, or comments that people don't like me, the ultimate truth is that they were never meant to like me. It's not like these people were ever going to be my clients. So best to never, or just to not put any focus and give any attention to this tiny minority of people, because they're not the ones who are going to make us money. The people that are going to make us money and support our business and all of that are going to repay us down the road, whether it's our attention or their actual money, they're the vast majority, and they're all who matters. That's who we're actually speaking to. Like these hate comments, they're just like little flies that you can just shoo away, whatever, go away. They really don't matter. So another motivating point as to why like we should not let the fear overcome us is that if we don't take action, especially when we actually feel called to, there is going to be somebody willing to take that action that's going to get way ahead of you and just probably be the one to thrive because you turned away the opportunity even though it fell on your lap. I'll go scroll through, like, especially now as I'm building my brand and experimenting with the different types of videos that I would like to put out. Some of them are braid videos and some of them are like tutorials. And I'll be watching these videos from, like, I did want to start maybe 3-4 years ago, and maybe the most popular video is like 2 years old and has like millions of views. So sometimes I will look at these videos and they're like decent, of course, you know, they're decent tutorial videos or explanation videos about something that I feel like I could have explained, and maybe I could have explained it even better. But I didn't take the action. I didn't sit in front of a camera and I didn't press record. And now somebody who wanted to just hit the record button and forget about trying to be perfect, they have years and years, maybe even decades of attention attached to this singular video because They didn't let fear prevent them from getting the needle moving. Let's not let these regrets of not doing something or not taking action build up and just keep piling on in our resume of life, please. The other point I wanted to, one of the last points I wanted to make is that kind of like my situation where I put off starting like a few years, it makes me wonder how many things I could have experimented on in these like past 3 to 4 years that I could have been collecting data and tweaking everything and realizing what I do like and what I don't like, refining all of that. Like, I could be in a mode right now. I can be in a mode right now where I have it all figured out and like now I'm just on a scheduled routine and things are second nature. But because I spent the time just twiddling my thumbs almost, worried about one thing playing out in a certain way and maybe even getting distracted by things so that I can kind of forget about the thing I actually want to do. The amount of time that we sit in the fear and the reluctance is valuable time wasted on what could have been data collection. Like, as I continue this personal brand journey, the data collection in general, just data collection in general, especially, when it comes to barbering or any part of our business, the more information that we get, whether or not it's positive or negative, this is all just data. And when you have more data points and inputs that are recorded and you're able to look back on, you can see where things need to be improved and what is working and what isn't. Now, I don't have that type of information if I only have a small handful of attempts. This all goes back to the power of fear, and it's all relative to how much power we give it. So I know, based off everything I said, it's gonna be so easy to sit and regret of what we didn't do or what could have happened. But I'm just making this video to hopefully give you back your power when it comes to how you respond to fear. Because honestly, fear is never gonna go away. Fear is healthy. Fear is what triggers our fight or flight. That's how we survive, right? But as we evolved in this day and age, like over centuries, eons, and everything, we've developed the consciousness to be discerning of fear and really just learn how to manage it so it can be to our benefit. Just to kind of flip my initial example on its head, the fear of being called out will give me the advantage to always make sure that I am speaking out of honor, making sure I'm as respectful as possible, doing my best to cover my ground and have as much mindfulness in how I speak as possible so that I'm not implying I'm like stealing anything from anybody, or that fear is making me more conscious about how I carry myself and how I appreciate the art of braiding. So it goes from cultural appropriation to cultural appreciation. I think that's a very powerful thing when it comes to taking a look at your fear and realizing, where can I leverage this so that I can be a better person, improve myself as a person, and not allow it to cripple us and keep us stagnant from going in the direction that we want to go. When you manage fear to your advantage, you're able to heighten your senses in a way that will allow you to avoid harm, but also is a great benchmark of what you can overcome. Just like my fear of first starting the channel, actually starting the channel, like because I started the channel, I literally got over that fear. There's probably going to be a new fear of like, oh, you know, I'm worried things are going to flop or something. Taking action is giving me evidence that I am overcoming the fear and I'm pushing past the fear. I've been talking all about fear when really we got to reframe to just have faith instead of letting fear overtake us. Faith is what allows us to make up scenarios. Both of them, both fear and faith, allow us to make up scenarios in our head. Fear has us think of the worst case scenarios and anything on that side of the spectrum. You know, really like bad, not so great, bad, and then the worst case scenarios. But faith allows us to think of the best case scenarios and everything, you know, on that spectrum. It's like, oh, it was all right, or it wasn't so bad. Oh, that was good. It was great. This is the best case scenario. So our reframe is really just anchoring more on our faith in a better outcome instead of being dragged down by fear. If I just had faith in myself, really, first of all, had faith in myself, and also had faith that how I talk about what I do and braiding and just everything in the hair space, as like if I have faith that I'm one to talk out of love and respect and just sharing art to the world, the chances of things going in my favor are so much higher instead of navigating with this burden of fear. I feel like my spirit will show up differently. Like I will show up differently when I let faith carry me instead of fear. So if I were to leave you with one thing today, is that what you are scared of in whatever you want to try, the thing that is preventing you from taking that first step, don't give it any power. Because in the long run, you might find out that it is the most minuscule problem that you don't even deal with at all. But you let it prevent you from carrying out your dreams or paving the way to actually make your dreams come true. All because of this minuscule fear that actually had no merit to what you're actually pursuing. But if you let faith and these little faiths guide you and give you hope for what is possible from taking action, you're going to open up yourself to so much possibility. The version of you who is at the crossroads of whether or not you should let this fear hold you back or let the faith push you forward, that version is going to be so happy you went the faith route. So I hope this blesses you today. Thank you so much for listening in. That was just another episode of the Tending the Soil podcast. Let me know if it resonated with you. Please share a story in the comments if you experienced anything where fear might have prevented you from taking action, or maybe there's something you're holding right now that you would like to let go. Definitely share it in there. It is extremely healthy to just kind of admit what might be holding you back and just acknowledge it so that we can get over it together. And I'd love for this to be a space for you to do that. So thank you so much, and I will catch you in the next episode.